A fraction represents a part of something. The bottom number in the fraction, also known as the denominator, represents the number of parts in a whole, while the top number in the fraction, also known as the numerator, represents the number of parts that there are in total. Decimals are numbers that contain parts that are not whole. They represent the amount of whole parts and fractional parts in a number. Whole parts are separated from fractional parts by a decimal point. The first number after the decimal point represents the number of tenths, the second number represents the number of hundredths, the third number represents the number of thousandths, and so on. For example, the number 3.465 is equal to 3 and 465 thousandths, because 3 plus 4 tenths plus 6 hundredths plus 5 thousandths is 3.465. The word percent means out of 100, so a percentage is a fraction out of 100. A percentage uses the percent symbol after the number and indicates how many parts out of 100 there are. To convert from a fraction into a decimal, you just need to divide the numerator, the top number, by the denominator, the bottom number. You can either use a calculator for this, or you can use the bus stop method. For example, to convert the fraction 3/8 into a decimal using the bus stop method, you first need to draw the bus stop and write the number 8 outside the bus stop on the left and the number 3 inside the bus stop on the right. Now we can start working it out. How many 8s are there in 3? There are 0, with 3 left over. How many 8s are there in 30? There are 3, with 6 left over. How many 8s are there in 60? There are 7, with 4 left over. And finally, how many 8s are there in 40? There are 5. So 3/8 as a decimal is 0.375. To convert from a decimal into a fraction, we need to remember that the first number after the decimal point represents the number of tenths, the second number represents the number of hundredths, the third number represents the number of thousandths, and so on. The decimal 0.75 is equal to 75 hundredths, which can also be written as 75 over 100. You can then simplify this to get the fraction 3/4. To convert the previous example, 0.375, back into a fraction, we need to rewrite it as 375 over 1,000. Then, we can simplify the fraction by dividing the top and bottom parts of the fraction by 125 to get the fraction 3/8. To convert from a decimal into a percentage, it is a lot easier. All you need to do is multiply the decimal by 100 and you get the percentage. If you find it easier, you can use this formula. Percentage equals decimal times 100. To convert a percentage back into a decimal, just divide the percentage by 100, or use the formula decimal equals percentage divided by 100. To convert a fraction into a percentage, it's slightly more difficult. You need to combine the two previous methods into one. First, you convert the fraction into a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator, and then you times the answer by 100. With a calculator, you can do this in one go by using the formula percentage equals numerator divided by denominator times 100. Without a calculator, you would need to use the bus stop method and then times your answer by 100 to get the percentage. However, there are some fractions that don't require as much effort to convert. If you can make the denominator equal to 100, then the numerator will be the percentage. To convert a percentage into a fraction, you need to do this method in reverse. First put the percentage into a fraction over 100, and then simplify it to get it in its simplest form. To do this, just divide the numerator and the denominator by the highest number that goes into both. This is also known as the highest common factor, which is something I'll cover in more detail in a future video. With a calculator, you can just type in the number over 100 and press equals. This will immediately get the fraction in its simplest form. In an exam, you might be asked to write a mixture of fractions, decimals, and percentages from smallest to largest. Here is a list of 5 decimals, fractions, and percentages to put in size order. First, we need to convert them all into the same type of number to make them easier to compare. I'm going to change them all into decimals for this example. 3/5 as a decimal is 0.6, 0.72 is already written as a decimal, so we don't have to do anything. 65% as a decimal is 0.65. 7/10 as a decimal is 0.7, and finally 0.68 is already written as a decimal, so we can also leave that as it is. Now that we have all the numbers as decimals, we can easily order them from smallest to largest. 0.6 is the smallest, followed by 0.65, then 0.68, then 0.7, and finally 0.72. The final step now is to write out all the decimals in their original form, but this time in the correct order. So when written from smallest to largest, the final answer is 3/5, 65%, 0.68, 7/10, and finally 0.72. Here are 3 more questions. Write each set of numbers in order from smallest to largest. Press pause and have a go. When you have answered all the questions, press play to see how many you got right. Here are the answers. If you have any questions, just write them down in the comment section below and I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.